Let's talk a little bit about revolution.
All right.
So you recently contacted me to do a little writing about revolution. It's a subject that's on your mind. What are your thoughts about it? Do we need one?
Yeah.
Outer, political, inner, spiritual?
All of those. That's too succinct, isn't it? Because the dynamic of the show must be conversational. If I think, right, I'm going to just try and answer in binary, 01110 00111. I think that, yeah, and I think there has to be all of them. It's you, in fact, that turned me onto that. Buckminster Fuller fella.
Yeah.
And he goes, don't he? That you've got to look at the whole thing, the whole reality, the maximum positive impact for the 100% of humanity without ecological damage as soon as possible.
So how are we going to do that?
I think everyone's got to be really nice. I think start off with that. I suppose what's happened is, this is what I believe in, mate, is that certain cultural narratives are promoted that are beneficial only to elites. These cultural narratives are not true. We need to realign the cultural narratives that we promote. So if there are, the only reality that is relevant is we have this planet. There are this many people on the planet. There are these resources. Any system that is in conflict with the even distribution of the resources to the people is a disingenuous and illusory system. All these things are just ideas. America, just an idea. England, just an idea. Karate, just an idea. Wednesday, just an idea.
What about reptilian overlord aliens?
Definite real thing. I mean, I don't know about the old reptilian overlord aliens. On some level, they are just a sort of a frequency, a vibration like us. And I try not to worry too much about the reptilian overlords because, in case they're watching, and I am hoping to get a part-time job in the Illuminati. On the weekends.
What do you see your role with the Illuminati? What kind of work would you like to do with them?
I'd basically just like to do massage for the Illuminati. Just keep the Illuminati upper echelons relaxed when they're having those conferences with their hoods up. No, I mean, I think, for me, mate, I think that all we have to do is not worry too much about that. That's just iconography and narrative data. The important data is imperceptible to us, as you know, because loads of this stuff I got off of you. I don't know why I'm telling you back again. You might as well be talking about my haircut. Is that because our sense, the realm of the senses is so limited, we can only see between infrared light and ultraviolet light, we can only hear a limited decibel range, we think reality is what we can apportion through the limited instruments of the senses. But reality is, of course, far beyond that. Spiritual data, we don't have the correct instruments to receive it, and we live primarily in the realm of the senses. We live in the unevolved
I feel like I finally got you talking again.
There we go, I'm off now, man. The one-word answers are fucked off, ain't they? Right, so we live in when you talk about, see, in Christian myth, these ideas are quite evident. When we talk about what Campbell said, what is the relevance of the resurrection of Christ, some guy 2,000 years ago, if we are not constantly resurrected into the moment anew? I think what Christianity is referring to with this resurrection myth is that the dead human ape has fulfilled its potential. The dead human ape has not evolved for the last 10,000 years. These are the achievements of the dead human ape. Now we must transform, become enlightened, so that we can access the next realm of consciousness necessary for our evolution.
Right, which also involves sharing the resources equitably, so
the
whole planet can partake in the abundance that's available.
We've got to let go of temporary, transient ideas like individualism. The nature of monotheistic faiths, these dead desert religions, is to encode us with the idea that individualism is more important than paganism, ideologies that integrally relate us to the earth, so that we know that we are integrally, indefatigably related to our environment, and we live in the service of our environment, because self is a temporal illusion.
So how do we make that jump in tangible and practical terms?
Well, some people like you just go off to the jungle and eat a bunch of plants. People like me, have to think. I have to use the old nut.
Well, this is fun for me. I got to introduce two extremely extraordinary human beings to each other. Eve, meet Russell. Russell, meet
Hi.
Eve.
Hello!
Hello. So happy to meet you.
I'm happy to meet you. You seem so
really
nice and kind and a bit sexy.
Thank you. Oh, thanks.
So we were talking beforehand about kind of cultural programming, which we kind of discussed a little bit, and and how kind of in a way we could use cultural engineering to bring about kind of a transformation, which I guess you've been doing. Maybe you want to tell Russell a little bit about your perspective on that.
Well, I like what you were talking about, getting out of the individualism thing and the consumerism thing, and beginning to see ourselves as artists, as the creators of our destiny. I think so much of what is happening is the creating of this passive passive culture where people are just staring up at a screen or being just consuming and transacting, as opposed to seeing themselves as transformers of their own destiny. And I just really am interested now in all the ways we create energetic shifts in helping people become transformers of the world. And so we are not, and I love what you were saying about being nice. Like, how do we generate kindness? How do we generate images of kindness and the possibility of kindness? You know, so much of the culture that exists is about perpetrating cynical ideas of who human beings are, you know, particularly television.
Yeah, it is. Because I see that Darwin, origin of species, survival of the fittest and all that, and social Darwinism, those ideas that were leapt upon a century ago, in that actual book, Origin of Species, he kept going, but most animals, they're a lovely cuddly bunch, and they're always being nice to each other. They that bit off, it weren't a convenient message.
It was the bulk of the book. The survival of the species was only a tiny little bit of the book, you know?
So they just look for information that's conveniently conveys a pre-existing narrative, then bombard us with that narrative till we can't think nothing else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what if we just started saying that people... another Terence McKenna thing, he says this really interesting thing about the fall, right? That the whole idea of the fall, that people are fallen. Who made that up? Maybe we're rising. Maybe we're not fallen. But that just keeps everybody in their place believing they're fallen people, you know? And I think if we actually kind of pulled out from that thinking and saw... just really reframed who we are and reconceived who we are, like actually we're rising people, not fallen people, that we can create. And I love what you said about the evolution of the next consciousness, that we're just here to push up to the next place that we need to go, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the body is merely a vehicle which is operating within the frequency range of this reality and thus allows the true self to focus attention through the vehicle into this reality and experience what this reality has to offer. It is not who we are. That's the big mistake. The body is like a lens, it's like a telescope which allows the true self infinite awareness to experience this reality. When we get caught into that is who we are, and that's what the conspiracy is working 24/7 all our lives to kid us to believe, then we become limited, I have no power. When we realize we are that, just having that experience, we are all powerful. We are consciousness. We are awareness. We are a point of attention within the great infinite forever. This is just the vehicle of experience. As a Central American shaman brilliantly put it, we are perceivers. We are awareness. We are not objects. We have no solidity. We are boundless. We, or rather our reason, forget this, and thus we entrap the totality of ourselves in a vicious circle from which we rarely emerge in our lifetime. The goal of the conspiracy is to stop us emerging from it. In other words, humanity is under mass hypnosis. But you know, isn't it funny? We use these phrases and we use these words and we throw them away, they have such profound meaning. People say, I woke up and I could suddenly see it. Yes. Woke up from the hypnotic trance. That's exactly what it is. And these are the hypnotists. And most of them, vast majority, are also hypnotized in a trance, hypnotized to hypnotize other people into the trance. They're called journalists and whatever Bill O'Reilly is. I don't know who he is or what he is anyway. On Fox News in America, and you know, all these politicians, doctors, and all these people, teachers and schools and academics, they are hypnotizing people with a version of reality, most of them unknowingly. And this is where all this comes from. All these sources of you must believe this is credible, this is not credible, are all hypnotic implants into the mind. And we live in what I call the wireless cosmos. And this is why we literally don't see it. Nowadays, of course, you've got the wireless internet. The Wembley Arena's probably, I'm sure, got the wireless internet. Okay, where the bloody hell is it? It's here. I could get this computer here, and I could log it in, and in the middle of this stage, with no wires attached to it, I could log into a worldwide reality, a collective reality that can be picked up in South Africa, America, Britain, in Russia, everywhere that it's available. And that's what we are doing through the body computer. We are picking up information from the cosmic internet, as I call it, and we are decoding it into a experienced reality. And what we decode from it and what we don't decode from it is dictated by the way our decoding system works, and that is immensely dictated by our sense of perception. So what is the internet? Well, people say, well, it's graphics and it's words and it's pictures on a screen. Well, yes, it is, but only on the screen. Everywhere else, it's electrical circuits and all this stuff. Okay, what's TV? Well, it's moving pictures on a screen. Yes, it is, but only on the screen. Everywhere else, it's electronic circuits, it's digital stuff these days, or it's the old frequency, analog stuff that's still around. That's what most of it is. Only on the screen is it that. Well, only on our screen is this. Any other time, it's a vast information construct. And because we're all decoding the basic same construct, that's why we see the same lights. That's why we see the same blue car passing. But what we think of that car, whether we like it or don't like it, or all the rest of it, is our unique spin on that collective virtual reality game that we're experiencing. Now, I make the strong difference between what I call body-mind. This is so important to the conspiracy as we go through the day. What I call body-mind and what I call consciousness. Body-mind to me is the body and the lower auric field mind that operates in this reality, basically. And this consciousness is the greater self operating beyond this reality, with therefore a very different view of this world from its perspective of attention. And of course, if you were on the internet and your consciousness, symbolically the guy with the keyboard and the mouse, had control of the computer, well, that's great, because you're deciding what websites you go to, you're deciding whether you like them or whether you don't like them, you're making all the decisions. But what if this became detached from that, and that went away on its own, making its own decisions, deciding where it's going to go and what it thinks of it? Suddenly this is banging the keyboard and tapping the mouse, nothing happening. And that's what the conspiracy is about. It's isolating body-mind, that which is having the experience, from the greater self. That's why we live in a society that's entirely about attracting and controlling and hijacking the attention of the five senses. And, of course, everything is one. We'll get into this. Everything is one. But that one has multiple infinite possibilities and expressions. Thus, mind and consciousness are of the same substance, but they're not in the same state of perception and awareness. Consciousness can be symbolized as the ocean, and mind, still the same as the ocean, in water in this symbolic case, but it's much denser, much more limited in its ability to perceive. And this is where humanity is, when this is what humanity really is.